Right, so even as Joe Biden is beginning the process of trying to push through his first Supreme Court nominee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, it still is going to remain the case that conservatives are going to have an overwhelming 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court at the end of the day. So with that comes the inevitability that likely within the next couple of months, they are going to begin chipping away at Roe v. Wade and undercutting the constitutional right to abortion in the United States. And Democrats just basically blew their chance at actually enshrining Roe v. Wade in a legislative manner. And guess who one of the major culprits was in this? None other than the corporate ghoul from West Virginia, Joe Manchin. So here from Common Dreams, they say, shameful, Manchin votes with the Senate GOP to filibuster abortion rights bill. So here are some of the details. They say Democratic Senator Joe Manchin on Monday joined Senate Republicans in blocking legislation that would codify abortion rights into federal law, a vote that came as the conservative-dominated U.S. Supreme Court prepared to rule on a case that could strike a fatal blow to Roe v. Wade. And he says the final vote on whether to advance the House-passed Women's Health Protection Act was 46-48, well short of the 3/5 supermajority needed to break the Republican-led filibuster. And they say every Senate Republican present voted no, while every Democrat, with the exception of Joe Manchin, voted yes. So again, you see the makeup here of the existence of the filibuster, essentially making it so that even if Joe Manchin had voted yes on this, that it still would not have been able to get passed. But still, at the end of the day, the blame lies on Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema and other corporate Democrats who are still refusing to get rid of the filibuster, right? That is something that they also could do, which would then make it the case that they could then vote to enshrine abortion rights as a matter of federal law with just a simple majority. So the fact that you need a filibuster to overcome and pass this legislation is not, some inherent obstacle that Democrats would never be able to overcome. It's really much more of a matter of political will and how much that Joe Biden or other Democratic leaderships, those in Democratic leadership positions, would be willing to pressure members of their own party to actually fall in line and do the things necessary to get these types of bills passed. So there's really no excuses here, and either way, the blame lies primarily with corporate ghouls within the Democratic Party who are basically siding with Republicans in preventing abortion rights from being enshrined into federal law. So they continue saying the House passed the WHPA in September, shortly after the Supreme Court let stand a draconian Texas law that deputizes private citizens to enforce the state's near total ban on abortions. And the Republican-authored Texas law, which inspired copycat bills across the country, has caused a 60% decline in abortions performed in the state already. And this is coming from Texas, a state that already had extremely limited access to abortion, just like many other southern states or conservative states in general. But damn, I mean, a 60% decline in abortions already from this law that was put in place in Texas. And they continue with more details saying in a matter of weeks, the Supreme Court is expected to hand down its ruling in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, a case that poses another direct threat to abortion protections enshrined under the High Court's 1973 decision in Roe v. Wade. And the case is centered on a Mississippi law that prohibits abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy, a ban that other Republican-led states have sought to replicate. So not the most restrictive abortion law that I've seen implemented. There have been those 6-week abortion bans that have been tried to put forward in conservative states. So this is a 15-week pregnancy abortion ban, which is still completely and utterly unscientific and ridiculous and intrusive and authoritarian for them to try to do this type of thing. But on top of that, I mean, it's a 15-week abortion ban, so it kind of would make it somewhat easier for a conservative Supreme Court to side with them on this type of a case that isn't the maximum, maximum extent of restrictions possible. So kind of gives them a little bit of leeway to make excuses and again start to chip away at Roe v. Wade, if not completely throwing it out and into the shredder. But they say in oral arguments held in December, a majority of the justices on the High Court appeared poised to uphold the Mississippi law. So I mean, listen guys, this is a situation we have right now with abortion rights. I mean, we have a Democratic Party that runs consistently on we are going to be the big grand protectors of abortion rights in this country. It is the Republican Party that is a direct threat to your bodily autonomy, your ability to have the freedom to make these types of decisions with you and your doctor. They constantly use this as a campaign tactic. They constantly use this idea to raise money. It's one of their biggest fundraising tactics that they have at their disposal. And so that might give you a little bit of an insight into why they might not necessarily be willing to actually go to the mat to make sure that this threat is actually removed. So that's the situation that we have right now. now we have, again, a Democratic Party that pretends as if they are going to, lay down their lives protecting abortion rights. And then when it comes to actual legislation that's on the table, you have a guy in Joe Biden who says he supports abortion rights. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they say they support abortion rights. But if you're not willing to actually go out there and pressure the members of your own party that are preventing you from having the logistical path forward in getting something like this passed, then, how are people supposed to believe you? Because, at the end of the day, we're dealing with, again, in a couple months from now, we could see the Supreme Court, which is dominated by conservatives, again, largely because Joe Biden is not willing to go with this aggressive strategy of trying to expand and pack the Supreme Court. So there's a couple different ways that you could go about actually trying to protect abortion rights here, and you're not doing it. So what are people supposed to believe here? It's pathetic at the end of the day, but this is nothing new. This has basically been defining Joe Biden's administration. It's been defining the Democratic Party since Joe Biden took office. Is basically just, we are only as good as our most conservative member, and anything beyond that is, I guess, just logistically impossible to stand up and fight for.